Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update for Forex, the currency market. It is the 7th of April. Hope you all had a great Easter if you're celebrating that. This video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. The Forex market has been fairly calm the past week or so. Let's start with euro dollar as usual. Euro dollar is forming what appears to be a triangle, a symmetrical triangle-like pattern here. So let's see if that is also playing out. So that could mean that euro dollar will be trading within these two trend lines here, the rising trend line, the falling trend line, for maybe a week or two, testing these trend lines here. So let's see, it has bounced lastly it has bounced off the 61.8 retracement of this little uptrend there. But let's see, it could dip down to the 786 retracement there at 114.80. 82 and then bounce up and maybe test the upper side and then break out. I think breakout will be to the downside for a couple of reasons. First of all, we have all moving averages up here. They are declining. We are below the clouds. We were in a bearish trend, so I think it would be a continuation pattern. We have negative sentiment on the RSI, no divergence. So a move below a 40 threshold here could indicate a bearish breakout of this triangle pattern. Sterling dollar, well, it's just in a bearish trend, but it had here yesterday this bullish candle opening after Easter, so where it could bounce further, but it didn't do it. So let's see. We can also see 55 moving average coming down. We had the 200 declining, excuse me, and we have the 100 virtually flat, but negative sentiment on the RSI. So there's further downside potential for the sterling dollar pair there. But here on the weekly, we'll see where we also are. We are in a bearish trend. However, there's positive sentiment on the RSI, never broke below 40 threshold. So that is something to keep an eye on here in the coming days and weeks. On the euro sterling has also been pausing a little bit here short term, and it is above the clouds. 200 moving average rising, 55 is getting a little bit flat here, but the 100 is trying to drag it down. So a little bit divergence picture here. However, we have the RSI in a positive sentiment, indicating likely higher levels, but we could see it setting back a little bit, maybe down to 86. 80 level here, the 38.2 retracement and the 55 moving average, and then I think we'll see it bouncing again and push higher. But if it takes out that, well, then we could see lower levels. So a little bit of a limbo here, wait and see mode. On the yen pairs, well, let's zoom in a little bit there. We have dollar yen still in a bullish trend, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. And can it get a higher high? I believe it will, despite the fact that we do have a little bit of a divergence here. You can see RSI values declining, but if RSI moves back above 60 threshold, and if we get the dollar yen to take out the peak there at 160.45, 160 and a half, well, then expect to push up to 162. If it takes out 158 and a quarter, well, then we could see a push down to around 157. But for now, I think we will be pushing up there. But expect maybe from the 786 retracement there, just below 160, we could see a little bit of a setback. So be aware of that. The euro yen still forming this ascending triangle-like pattern here. You can see the lows here are ascending, they're rising, and the move up here is virtually flat. Here just below 184.75.80. So that is what it needs to break out of. So will it break out to the upper side? Well, we are above the cloud. We are above all moving averages. 55 though is dragging down on it a little bit, but 100 is pushing up here. You can see how it gives some support every time it dips below every time euro yen is dipping below the 100, then it bounces back. So let's see here in the coming times. If it starts breaking below the rising trend line, especially below 182.5 here, then it can turn around. Then it is a continuation, a pattern from this bearish trend here. So let's see, keep an eye on that one. Aussie yen, slowly still bouncing from above the cloud, above 55 moving average, still positive sentiment on the RSI. I think we will see it pushing higher here towards the 61.8 retracement at 111.90, just below this rising trend line. If it breaks back above the rising trend line, then I think we'll see the Aussie yen pushing higher and possibly also taking out the peak at just below 114. However, if it takes out 108.75 here, then expect to push down to 107.5, possibly lower. And last sterling yen we're looking at here, trying to bounce. The bouncing mode started here a couple of days ago before Easter, trying to follow through here yesterday, and let's see if it can push higher here today. I think we'll see at least up to 61.8 retracement, 211.88, but 212.5, the 786 is also quite likely. And if we're getting up in this area here, then I think we could have another go at the strong resistance here at 213.30 it is. Really strong resistance. We can see it tested a couple of times, and then possibly above the back above the rising trend line. 100 moving average is supporting. We're above the cloud, and the sentiment here on the RSI is unfortunately, no, it is positive. We were above there, so let's see if it moves back above 60 threshold, then we'll support that bullish view. Aussie dollar itself, well, yeah, we talked about yesterday that it spiked below the support and the 100 down there, but I checked it and it was more or less just one print that actually did it. So it was really, I would say, kind of a misprint, more or less. Let's see here, from yesterday early morning, there wasn't really not much action going on in very thin market. So if we break above 69.65 here, then we have established a bullish trend. A bit of resistance here around the 70.10, but can it move back above the cloud? Well, then I think we'll see uptrend resuming. If it takes out the lows here around 68.30, well, then we could see it at 67.65, possibly lower. So a little bit sideways range there. Also, that seems to be the name of the game at most of the FX pairs. Same picture here on dollar Canada. After a strong move, it is pausing a little bit, trading sideways around 139.50, 139. Breakout to the downside. Well, if it takes out 138.65, there's a little bit of support here at 138.38. But we could see it dipping lower to 138 area. However, if it takes out the upper side, which I believe it will, but again, we don't know that, we need on the weekly RSI to get back above 60 threshold. It is not really there yet, but it was indeed a strong bounce. So a little bit of setback could be expected. However, on the daily RSI, we are in a bullish trend. But as you can see, let me just draw a trend line there. A trend line right there. You see it's declining where market actually moved a little bit higher. So it is actually in a little bit of short-term exhaustion, but that can be cancelled if it takes out the peak there at 139.65, 70 area there. On the Swiss franc, well, in a bullish trend here, short term, you can see how much it bounced also on weekly. Can it get back up above, can it actually test the upper falling trend line that was very close to last week, but it didn't do it. We had a 55 moving average coming down there. We have the 100 down there. We are still below the cloud. Negative sentiment on the RSI. So I could see that we get up there to around the 92.65, possibly spiking up to 93, but I'm not quite sure we will get back above these spike ups there, this resistance around there, 93.25, 93.5. And if it doesn't, and if it's being rejected here, but yeah, we could see it spike above, then I think we will see it being rejected once again, setting back. If it takes out 91.60 down here, then we could see downtrend resuming. The dollar Swiss forming this rising channel-like pattern here on the daily. It hit the resistance up here at 80.40, and that could be at first. It was at first too hard to penetrate, but I think we will see it having another go within the next few days. You can see here on the weekly got rejected by the 55 moving average, and so we are really at around these levels there. But if it takes it out, well, then there are potential up to around these levels here. We have around 81 and up to 81.70 in this area here. However, if it takes out the 79, then we could see it pushing back lower to 78. But for now, the uptrend is intact. And let's have a look at the dollar index. Also taking a little bit of breather here, as you can say, pausing, but it is still in this bullish trend here. Can it follow through by taking out 100.5 and then push higher towards 101, 101.80? You can see here why it is so significant, this resistance here, just around 100, that's about 35.5. If it takes it out, well, on the medium term, then there will be 101.80 area. Positive sentiment is there's not on the RSI. It needs to get back above 60 threshold there on the weekly to do so. So that will be key to watch. All right, that is all for today on the FX markets. Have a nice day, and talk to you again later.